Department of Pharmacology, AIIMS, Bathinda, to share his valuable thoughts. Dr. Kanwal is the founder faculty of the Department of Pharmacology at AIIMS, Bathinda, and has his interest in both clinical and preclinical studies. His research areas include those of circulant biology, diabetes and associated cardiovascular disorders, epigenetics, and mitochondrial biogenesis. He is also a recipient of the S.C. Tyagi Young Faculty Award from the International Academy of Cardiovascular Sciences. It is with utmost pleasure that I invite on stage Dr. Abhinav to share his words.
Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, thank you, Indian National Academy of Young Scientists and Central University of Punjab in Bathinda as organizers to invite me here. It's good. So ethics in medical research, that is the topic for today. Can anyone tell me why we need ethics for it? What if we follow ethics, what it will tell about the person? Anyone? So we are doing every day, you are working or interacting with the people, right? But we have to follow the ethics. You cannot abuse anyone. You have to be very polite, right? You should not be having doing bad things with anyone, right? So why we need ethics? If you see this cartoon, this is a person who is moving on the very high road, but he's happy. He is not afraid of being in that much height. Right? So ethics is like this only. If you follow the ethics, you'll be very happy and your life will be very good. If you are not following that ethics, then you are having that fear in your mind, or you maybe not be having a very good relationship with others. So ethics, we are doing practice, we are researchers, we are scientists. But what ethics tells us about? It won't tell us about our profession. It will tell us about the personality of a person, whether this person is good or bad. So you also say something ethics follow nahi karta hai. It means person is there, but he is a good person or bad person. You are telling about on the basis of his how he follows the ethics. So ethics are from decades or maybe from centuries. So Hippocrates was the first physician, and he has followed some ethics, and he laid down the foundation for the ethics. And they are the 4 pillars of the ethics which we are still following. First is autonomy. Autonomy means swayata, means everyone is having a right to say no or say yes. Then we are having a beneficial, means it should be in the best interest of a person. Means it should be beneficial or it should not harm others. Similarly, we are having the non-malicious, means it should not harm any person while following this ethics. And justice, it should be fairly well to each and every person who is following this. So this is mainly focusing on identifying. What we are identifying the conditions, whether these conditions are applicable within those ethics or not. And second is, then we have to accept or not accept these conditions. The ethics are based on that, and then on the basis of these conditions, we formulate the guidelines. So Nuremberg Code is the first 12-point code, which are international codes for the ethical principles, and hence we follow these ethical principles. So can you imagine why we start these guidelines? We can do anything, whatever we want, right? But why we need guidelines? So just imagine there was a time when World War and pre-World War conditions were there, World War II, okay? And there were the Nazi doctors were there. These Nazi doctors, so what is happening? The Nazi pilots, they used to fly, and during the war or during their flight, they drop their aeroplanes or fighter jets in the cold water. So what they used to do, these Nazi doctors take prisoners as their subjects, and they put in a very freezing temperature. They do the gunshots, and they see how long they can survive in the cold water. So that is how they start doing these experiments. So this was like very inhuman, and this was not accepted by many people around the world. And then hence the Nuremberg Code has been established, and they are given the 12 points in the.
Yes, yes.
So ethics are laid down by different other sub rules, which are rules and regulations we have to follow, rules of conduct, how to conduct the thing, ethical practices, moral principles, values, and then the right people. So that ultimately makes a big concept of ethics. So these are 12 general principles, and these are very common principles which you are following every day or you should follow every day. The first is essentiality. You have to identify whether this particular work what you are doing is essential or not. If it is essential, go ahead. Voluntariness. It is not like कि जबरदस्ती नहीं करनी है किसी के साथ. It should be voluntary. Then non-exploitation, privacy should be there, confidentiality should be there, professional competence should be there in the right or policy manner, and then compliance should be there. So we will discuss these things later. So this is a journey of guidelines which are made with the time. The first I have told you from the Nazi time, it is the Nuremberg Code, and then there was so many. It is not like one incident happened around the world. So many incidences are happened, and then there is a Helsinki Declaration. What is Helsinki Declaration? So you all know about this picture, right? So this is a thalidomide tragedy. So after taking this drug, Cocomelia or Amelia, which is like short or without any these names, the people or the children are born, right? And they are survived, and they are still struggling a lot. So due to this, what is happening? Almost 2,000 children died, and 10,000 children were seriously affected. Based on that, the Declaration of Helsinki has been made by the World Medical Association, and it is accepted. It has been done on 1964, and it took 2 decades for us to understand what is the guidelines we should make for the in India. So ICMR made these guidelines in 1980, first document, and they are start implementing the actual guideline in 2000. So it took almost 4 decades. So just imagine, it is not like in different parts of the world the unethical practice happened. Even in India, these things have been happened. So there is a Institute of Pathology and Oncology Prevention. There, what they did, the ladies, pregnant ladies, almost 1,100 pregnant ladies, they have used as a research subjects, and they were having the cervical dysplasia. They kept those ladies without any treatment, and they want to see how much lesions it will develop with time. Out of those 1,100, 1,200 human patients, only 62 they have treated. Rest everyone they are just put without any treatment, and invasions of the cancer has been become an invasive cancer, and 50% of those has been died. So this inhuman practices has been done not outside. We can also say in our country also we are following. So looking at all these matters, we have made ethical committees, ethical, or similarly we are saying ethical review board, or in abroad we are saying institutional review board, which are IRBs. So they are having a huge role in implementing the guidelines. So I'll just give you the brief, what is the ethical committee and who should be there. And what is the role of this people? One basic medical scientist should be there. preferably the pharmacologist, clinician, legal expert person should be there, social scientist person should be there, or maybe a representative of NGO and one layman person should be there. So it is these people have been taken from the different part of the society so that this whatever the research is happening or whatever the guidelines you are following should be informative to the common man. And the head of this committee should be outside from the institute where this is research is carried out. They should not be from the same institute to avoid the bias. So this is the committee what we are having in our aims. First is animal ethics committee, and second is institutional ethics committee. So what is the purpose of this committee? The purpose is any individual can approach the ethical committee. The review of proposed research before the commencement of the research. So this committee has to see this is a valid research or not valid research, whether this is a beneficial or not beneficial. To ensure that independent, the person can do this, have that independence, or timely review the ethical aspects of this research. The last part is very important. The safeguard the dignity, right, and the safety and well-being of all the actors, all potential research applicants. So it is not easy to become a head of the chairperson of this ethical committee. It is like a huge responsibility, and you have to go through each and every research proposal. So in this one, you have to see which type of human participants are there and what type of documentation you have to do. So these essential documentation should be there. And these documents, what you are making, they should be having a scientific merit and adherence to the federal regulations or IRB policies which are made by the institution or in global or in your country. So this committee has to ensure that risk to these subjects, whatever the human patients are there, or even in the animal research also, we have to see that the risk should be minimized. In patients, informed consent should be there, which is out of these 12 points from the Nuremberg Code, that the informed consent should be there. This informed consent has been implemented from the Belmont Treaty, where what they did, they put the penicillin inside the patients, and they will see how many of them are died without any taking a consent. So without taking consent, they were doing like this. So this informed consent has been started from the Belmont Treaty. And then we have to maintain the privacy and the confidentiality of the subject. So it is not like that some patient is coming and you have to open all the data about this patient. It should be very confidential. This committee has all the rights to approve, to make the amendments in the research proposals, disapprove, or even terminate this proposal. So they have all these rights. This committee also determines what is the progress you are doing during this research period. The progress they have to ensure that progress is doing or not, whether you are following this ethical regulations guidelines or not. So everything they have to do, and they also see whether you are sticking together to the institutional policies or not. So they make the policies, federal regulations, and then they also report the suspension, terminations, and even the non-compliance to the ethical committee or to the institutional head. Then what is the responsibility of this institute? The institute also is having a huge responsibility that they have to make the guidelines, formulate the guidelines through the ethical committee. They have to educate all these investigators. This is in contact with the clinical trials and all those. So they have to educate the investigators, scientific professionals, they have to see, preventing the misconduct, and they have to see whether there is a conflict of interest or not, or how this conflict of interest can be minimized or overruled. So institutions are required IRB review of the protocol and for the informed consent, administrative review of the proposals, and scientific review. So in the institutes, we are having generally two bodies. First is research cell, and second is the ethical committee. So these are the two segments which screen your proposal. The scientific review has been done by the research committee generally, and in that research committee, what they are not doing, they are not looking at the ethical part generally. So this ethical part is looking after by the ethical. So the purpose of the ethical committee is to ensure that the investigator complies with the protocol, demonstrate that they have. So generally, what you see, you have to present in front of this committee. Why you have to present? Because they have to demonstrate that the trial is necessary, or your proposal is really good, and it is a need for this art. And then they have to calculate the risk and benefit ratio in your proposal. So the IRP must review the following requirements. So whenever the proposal comes to you, you have to focus on the two important pillars of this proposal of the ethics committee. First is risks are rational and minimized. They should not be like that. Risks are more, but the benefit is very less. So it should be balanced. Second is choice of subject is equitable. It is not like only male people you have taken or only females you have taken. So it should be justifiable. Informed consents should be taken from all, and if there is a child below 18 years, then the assent form you have to take it from the parents or the guardian. Appropriate monitoring and observations should be done, because it should not be like your treatment will be put the person into a life-threatening situation. Then administrative review also you have to do. Means you are asking for some monetary benefits also, right? For to conduct the research. So in the administrative review, you have to see whether the proposal is aligned with the budget that is in compliance or not. Is there any conflict of interest within the sponsors, within the investigators, or within the institute? If it is there, you have to take care of that also. So you have to avoid or minimize the potential conflicts which are there. This I have told you. Scientific peer review. This is generally to examine the soundness and the worth of your proposal. What is your hypothesis, whether that is a good or beneficial or not? What are the procedures you are following? It is not likely, it should not be inhuman. Okay, so it should be very less painful, and it should be within the guidelines. Whether the methods you are using are appropriate or not, or you are just making your own methods. If you are making your own method, you have to approve from the committee or ethical committee also, and from the institution also. So it is unethical to expose the subjects to unnecessary risk, and sample size is also very important. So sample size is not like you will just randomly select the 300 patients I needed. Okay, or in case of animals, 300 animals I have to take. First is for the genomic study, first is for the surgery, and for the. So just imagine, like in animals also we put one sham group. Sham group means if one animal you are treating with the Alzheimer's, in the sham group you are just recreating that Alzheimer's without giving any treatment. So that is also inhuman. So you have to see, you have to justify why you need sham group. Unless you can use the vehicle group, right? Or if you are asking for the 20 sham groups, you just ask for the 3 subjects as a sham group. When the IRP plays the dual role of conducting the scientific review, scientifically qualified expert must be added. Means in your committee, the one should be there who can understand what proposal you are putting, and these experts should be one first person who has read your proposal and put in front of the committee along with you. Right? So he will critically review what proposal it is there. You have to follow the DCPs through clinical practices, okay, according to the International Council for the Harmonization. This is to protect the human volunteers, ensure the accuracy and reliability of the data generated in the course of the clinical trials. So the compliance with these standards, the public trust that the rights, safety, and well-being of clinical trial participants will be protected. So just imagine, you are here in this conference or workshop. Okay, we will tell you, we will give you 5,000 rupees to come in this company. The number what right now is there, it will become 4 times or 5 times. Right? Definitely. Why? Similarly, this is happening here. So there is a monetary benefits to the volunteers also in the clinical trial. Okay. So you have to take care of that human volunteers, that they should not feel, they should not be exploited. Even they are coming, it should not be that we are putting them into the life-threatening conditions. So it should be compliant with these standards and guidelines, and there will be a safety of their rights as well as their well-being also. Good clinical practice covers obtaining informed consent. So you have to take informed consent from every volunteer who is taking participate in that research. Documentation should be there, and reporting should be there. So these three are very, very important aspects of any research. Similarly, like even in the animal studies that we do, we keep this data for the next 10 years. Why? Because they can ask anytime. Then ethical issues are also there with the design of the study. So it is not like you can choose whatever you want. You have to justify why you want this many numbers of patients or animals. Or you have to do randomization, blinding, or the problem of the placebos are also there. So you have to use standard medications or placebos you have to use. Then you have to also identify what is the whole risk and benefit after doing this randomization, placebo use, whether it is useful or not. So RCTs are the randomized controlled clinical trials or controlled trials. These are the studies which randomizes your samples. And then whether these participants are given treatment or placebo, it is randomized whether they have to give placebo treatment or your treatment test drug. Yeah. So this is for the clinical equippers, means it should not be biased. It is not like you can give anything to whatever you want. You have to do the blindness also. So whether it is blinded to the physician or it is blinded to the patient, like what type of drug you are taking, because there is a psychological results are also added in that. FDA generally approved RCTs. They are saying this is one of the best methods to avoid any type of bias. The RCTs are ethically permissible using the standard clinical equipoise in the context of non-life-threatening therapy. But serious problems remain, however, in clinical equipoise that can be easily upset. So if you are having a system where someone knows what type of drug is given to whom, so you can disturb whole trial. That single person can become biasness, show the biasness, and then they can do or waste all your research. So blinding is very important. So we are having single blinding, double blinding, triple blinding. So single blinding means the patient doesn't know what he is taking, either the test drug or the placebo is taking. Double blinding means physician also doesn't know what he is giving. Third is even the sponsor or investigators who are giving this, they also don't know what type of drug they are giving. Or so this is to avoid any type of bias. Then is the placebos. Placebos are very, very important in research, and you have to clearly demonstrate why you need placebo. So there are two things are there, placebos, or you have to compare with the actual well-defined treatment. Suppose you are doing any study on the painkillers, and you know that diclofenac is the first, which is a standard drug we are giving. So you have to test your test drug with the diclofenac. It's not so the first treatment you have can be compared with the placebo, but not with the diclofenac. But if there is a standard treatment already available that you know this is the standard drug, so you have to compare with the your standard drug only. But in this case, diclofenac. So placebo controls are intended to ascertain the authentic effectiveness of the treatment. So if you give the placebo, you will understand whether your treatment is good or bad, but it's not comparing with the standard treatment. So there's a difference between the placebo treatment and the standard drug treatment. So it also eliminates the various disturbing factors and determines the actual therapeutic efficacy of the new treatment. So if researchers wish to test a new treatment in the absence of non-effective treatment, the use of placebo is problematic and unethical. Means if standard drug treatment is there, you cannot use placebo. If you're using placebo, it means you are biased towards your study. Then the main purpose, ethics generally is very much needed in case of the phase 1 clinical trial. Here we are looking at the level of the toxicity of the drug and what is the efficacy of that particular drug what we are having. So these two things we are finding. And this is the stage whether it will tell your molecule or the new chemical entity will go to the next stage or not. So you are having a huge investment here, huge time you are invested as well as the money. So many people, if not following ethics, is this main study. That is called the phase 1 trials. This is to determine the highest tolerated dose, which is the below the EC50, what we say. Then effective dose or ED50, effective dose 50. After determining the lethal dose 50 of a new drug. And human studies bring about much tension and conflict between the goals of science, those of clinical affairs, bringing special challenges to the IRB. So for the IRB, this is the main challenge, how to avoid these type of issues. So we check the level of toxicity and pharmacology. So sometimes it's very difficult for the sponsors to become ethically loyal in the phase 1. Phase 1 is very crucial. So even in the participant recruitment, it is not easy. Sometimes you become biased that you are taking only females or you are taking only osteoarthritis patients. So this type of things should not be done, and it should be justified in front of the ethical committee. Informed consent. I'll just give you the 3 key components in the informed consent. It should be there. First is information. Whatever you are doing in your proposal, you have to inform to the participant. And the participant should be a volunteer participant. Second, it should be understanding by him. He or she should understand what you are saying, what you have written in your proposal. Means, if a person is from a Punjabi community, and this is happening somewhere in the Telugu community, then you have to tell that consent form in the Punjabi language. So the language should be a same language, but the volunteer is there. So you have to tell, it should be very understandable. Second is, it should be volunteer agreement. It should be signed that he is taking participate in this study. If it's a child, then it should be given by the parent or the guardian. So this is the patient consent form what we are using in our AIIMS. So this is all we are telling about the nature and purpose of the study, duration of the participation, procedure what we are following, investigations what we are following, and what is benefit to the volunteer in this by this study. So this is just the activity, whether you are understand what I have told right now or not. So there is 2 graduate students, and they have made the measurements on the new material. And this is the graph that we have. They have got it. So in this graph, these 2 points are the outliers. Okay. So the two students considered omitting the two data. And he has omitted these 2 points to make the very good linear this graph. So whether this is ethical or non-ethical. You have a very good data. See, this data is very good. And if you find out the regression value from this, it is 99.9%. For sure, because most of the data is coming on the line. But only 2 outliers out of this that you can remove also. Hardly matters. Because already you got a very good data, right? So you can remove these 2 data, right? No. You cannot remove this data. Rather than you have to give the justification why this data, because it hardly matters. Your results are good. If your results are not good, you have to repeat the experiment. Simple. In any experiment, you are repeating 3 times, right? Why we are doing this? Because you have to see the reproducibility of that. So maybe this is a mistake. You can do second time if you are not. That is fine. This is unethical. Second is students are required to prepare research proposal during their undergrad program. And then the student name is Nirmal, developed the idea for his project and discussed with his friends. Several months later, he found that this idea had been submitted as a research proposal by his friend without his acknowledgement. Unethical. So what we should do? What should we do? This one is very simple, right? So if you are having It is a plagiarism, but what he should do then? It's definitely a plagiarism because he has taken the idea from it. So he should discuss with him and put him as a co-author, or give the equal partnership within the paper. Right? If he is not agreeing, then he should revoke it. Then he should revoke it. Okay. Because it's not published, right? Then 4 friends decided to work together on a research project during the vacation, and one of them is not attending. He's roaming here. The friend include all 4 names in the presentation made at a scientific conference. So one person is not there, but they 4 have decided. But one person is not taking, he's just haven't any contribution. So what should we do? We do all these things, right? If we put names of every person in our paper. It's a very common practice. Even here it's very common practice. What should we do? It's unnecessary. So ethics is not you are a good by profession. Ethics tells us about the personality of it. You are in your home, someone says, आपके पड़ोसी भी बोलते हैं ये अच्छा है ये बुरा है किसके बेसिस पे? Only on the basis of ethics. A group of undergrad students planned a research project on the detection of a fetal abnormality in the second trimester and by ultrasound scan. They collected the data from the scan room without informing the mother. Unethical, but it doesn't matter, right? It's only scan. So the group of undergrad students planned a research project on the detection of fetal abnormalities by taking the UGC ultrasound. And they collected the data from the scan room without informing the mother. So the patient, they are not telling, but they have taken the data. Because we are having so much data, I have taken the data and from the user scan and published it. Unethical, right? It doesn't matter whether this is beneficial or harmful to the mother, but the data belongs to her. It's a controversial, so you should not do. Thank you. This is some. Thank you.
Now it is open for discussion. If you have any other query,
Anyone wants to ask anything?
online also.
So that is the differentiation. This is a very thin line between the good and bad, right? Ethics and unethical.
What is the basic difference between non-maleficence and beneficence?
So non-malfeasance means it should not harm anyone. Beneficence means it should benefit to anyone. So there is a one person with a neutral. If suppose I am here, you are not saying anything bad to me. I'm good, right? You are not doing any harm. So there is harm and benefit. Okay, so something you are having to eat, to offer me to eat. If you are not giving me, I'm good. If you are taking anything from me, it's a harm. If you are giving to me, it's still benefit. But if you are not doing, I'm neutral. That's the thing. Anyone else?